Hi, everybody. Welcome to Discover College Soccer. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Coach Tom over at Lincoln Memorial on the men's side. Welcome, Coach.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Yeah, excited to talk to you. I've been to Lincoln Memorial. Granted, it was 21 years ago when I was coaching men's Division two ball. We played over there, so nice campus right on that Tennessee Kentucky line, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful scenic place. Lots to do there. I encourage everyone to go and visit.
Awesome. Well, let's dive in. June 30th, we're talking here. It's a big day in the Division One landscape just because all the schools are supposed to opt in or opt out of the NCAA settlement, with roster limits possibly being imposed on schools that opt in. So, have you seen any effects as a Division Two men's program from all of the craziness that is what's going on in the NCAA Division One landscape?
Not, I don't think there's been a big impact on how we recruit. I think maybe there are some sort of less discernible things that you start to feel a little bit. I think a lot of Division One schools, especially the top schools, are now looking at transfers more than perhaps they were 3, 4 years ago. The reason for that, or the reason that I've heard when I speak to Division One coaches, is because of the risk of taking a freshman, whereas a transfer has already proven themselves somewhere in the college landscape. And so there's less risk in investing in this player if they see the player as a player that should contribute immediately.
Yeah. Have you seen any of your players or people that you're recruiting looking at now Division two not as a final destination, but now as a stepping stone because of that? That hey, maybe I'll start here and I'll prove myself and just ball out, and then I'll go to the next level, right?
For sure, yeah, definitely. Even in recruiting calls with some student athletes, they mention it, and I think it's 100% on the radar of guys that are perhaps good college players not getting Division One offers and thinking about year two, year three, and a lot of these guys ultimately want to be pros, and they see Division One as the best place to be in that spotlight. And I mean, that's true. Division One, the top end of Division One is the best place to showcase yourself if you want to play in the MLS or the USL. And so yeah, it's definitely something that we come into contact with.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, that's not a Tennessee accent. I hear on your voice. So, international recruiting on the men's side, especially in Division two, is fairly, fairly active. So, how about you guys? How does Lincoln Memorial look at domestic versus international recruiting and that sort of thing?
So we're moving to a two-team model this year. We'll have a first team and a reserve team. This will be the first year that we have had a distinct split between the two teams. So the two teams will train separately, play a separate schedule. In past years, we started to filter the idea in by playing a couple of additional games on top of our regular NCAA schedule to give games and minutes to the players that weren't playing much in our NCAA games. So we have a much bigger roster this year than we've had in previous years. We've gone from 38 or 39 last year to actually haven't finished our recruiting class, but we will be around 55 players across the two teams this year. So what we're striving for is a first team roster and training environment of 25 to 28, and then a reserve team, development team. I think both are acceptable terms with a similar size roster. We have last year, if we use last year as an example, we had about a 50-50 split between international players and American players. We actually had a couple of guys from different states, some states that are typically not states that we recruit from this past year, California, Texas, but the bulk of our recruiting is more local. So Kentucky, Tennessee, Atlanta has been a really good spot for us to recruit regionally. A little bit of North Carolina and South Carolina, a couple of Florida guys as well. That's sort of our American footprint when it comes to recruiting.
So where do you like to go typically to find your American players in terms like what leagues, tournaments, like where are you seeing the players that you're bringing in?
So it's I think it's challenging, as a Division 2 program, we have a limited budget, we have a limited recruiting budget, a limited ability to travel and attend different events. And even when you do attend events, you're almost overwhelmed by the number of games. Creating a schedule, we'll go to this game for 25 minutes, then we'll watch the second half of the first half of this other game where we have a player that's interested. Then we'll go to the next game for the second half. And I find it challenging, difficult, not overly exciting, to be honest, to watch like tons and tons of games that I'm not personally invested in. So I like ID camps. That's an area where I'm able to interact with players, able to coach them, able to interact with their parents, get to know their character. Often at showcases, you'll watch a player, but then he'll be off with his team within 10 minutes. The coach will speak, and there might be an opportunity to chat to the individual, but it's not going to be the same. There's typically not the same level of intimacy and relaxedness in the conversation that you'll get when you spend a day with someone at an ID camp.
Yeah, for sure. Well, whether it's at an ID camp or at a showcase or whether it's even your international players through video and Zoom calls, what is it that makes up the hierarchy of things you're looking for in a player both on and off the field?
Sorry, the hierarchy, can you
Yeah, like what
clarify
what
what
is
you mean?
what is the most important, levels of things you're looking for in a player, both in terms of the soccer aspects and the non-soccer aspects?
Okay. So what qualities do we look
Yeah,
for
yeah,
in
yeah.
in a in an incoming player? Okay, so soccer side mentality is massive. I think mentality is is probably the most important trait you can have as a soccer player, but also as an individual. So encapsulated in that is grit, resilience, um, the ability to work effectively within a team, um, and to help make others better, to be able to take criticism constructively, um, to have some kind of self-awareness, I think is a really key skill that maybe isn't talked about a huge amount. To recognize when you're sort of losing control of your emotions and to be able to regulate that. Um, from a soccer sort of on-field tactical standpoint, we play a style of play where we want to control games through possession, through having the ability to play through pressurized situations, to kind of be able to dictate what the opponent does defensively through our actions offensively. And so players that we bring in need to have a level of comfort in possession. They need to have a toolkit that allows them to receive the ball under pressure and trust their abilities. And then again, to go back to that collaborative piece, they need to be able to trust their teammates and kind of realize that we're building something here. This isn't, Rome wasn't built in a day. It's not going to happen overnight, but we're building something. And to do that, you need to push what you're comfortable with, both in trusting yourself and trusting your teammates.
Yeah, love that. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the school. You've been there a bit now, so kind of What have you found to be the awesome things about the school? What stands out? Maybe some things we wouldn't even know by going through the website.
Okay, so it's LMU is in the Appalachian Mountains. It is an hour and 15 minutes north of Knoxville, Tennessee. That's the closest bigger city to us. We're about 2 hours south of Lexington. So you're surrounded in kind of an open, mountainous environment. It genuinely is. I'm more of an urban sort of city dweller type person, but it genuinely is it's like a really scenic environment. And sometimes I look out after we've set the training field up and we're waiting for the players to arrive, and you look out and it's a beautiful, clear day. You've got the mountains in the background. There is something special there. I was joking earlier when I said, it's there's tons to do there. There is stuff to do there, but there's not tons to do. It's not Miami, it's not New York City, it's in the Appalachian Mountains. And so, if you're looking for a big city feel, it's not going to be the right place for you. But what you do have is you have resources, you have people around you that will support you, and because of there being fewer distractions, what we find is that our team get really close and have a really close bond with each other. They spend a huge amount of time with each other, and I think when you spend that amount of time, it's difficult to not either really sort of learn to understand the people you're with and have a level of depth in your relationship. And obviously that's a positive way. And then obviously, there'd probably be some people you don't get on with that well, and you spend a lot of time with them, so you have to deal with that too.
For sure. Well, one of the toughest things about becoming a college athlete is making that transition between the demands of both the academic side of college and being a collegiate athlete. What are some of the support systems that LMU has there to help student athletes be successful both on and off the field?
So we have a small class size to teacher ratio. I feel like every player that comes through the men's soccer program will have relationships with their professors. And if they're struggling in classes, they'll have the ability to go and set up appointments quite easily with their professor to talk things through. I mean, we have some really good personalities that are within the student athlete wider sort of point of contacts. So we have the FAR, which I think is the faculty athlete representative, something like that, but basically a connection point between student athletes and the faculty at the school. And he's an incredible person, and is kind of like an extremely outgoing former theatre guy that was involved with the theatre, and he really breaks the ice with student athletes early, and makes them feel comfortable being themselves. Um, I think as a soccer staff, we work hard on trying to create good relationships with the student athletes. Trust is the foundation of any good coach player relationship, and yeah, and part of that is investing time in getting to know them, and getting to know our players, and making an effort to really understand them, not just kind of seeing them on a surface level.
Oh, that's good. Well, let's rewind back to October. You're in the heart of that conference season. Walk me through what does a typical week look like for a player in terms of winter classes, practices, meals, game cadence, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so this year we're actually, because we're moving to this two-team model, this year will be a little bit different from last
Okay,
year. So
sure.
what
Yeah,
I'll do is
we'll
I'll
fast
explain
forward
how
instead of rewind.
this will be good for me too. I can forecast. So all of our guys live on campus, and most of them live in one of two places, and they'll live with other soccer student athletes. So they'll wake up in dorms or apartments, go to breakfast. All meals at every student athlete at LMU has a meal plan in the school cafeteria, and so our guys will eat together basically every day, sometimes multiple times a day. Then classes in the morning, lunch. We have our reserve team training from 3 until 5. We have our first team training from 7 until 9. And then there's the ability to get meals between 4 o'clock and then we'll also set something up for after our first team finish training. It's there's more than that because we also will have strength and conditioning sessions twice a week. The nature of those sessions will be dictated by the moment in the season and what the student athletes need in that moment. And guys will have different needs because some guys will have played close to 90 minutes, some guys will have not played in games. And then we also do a lot of or a good amount of video work. We have a cinema room at LMU, which is something that I love to have as a resource. I haven't had it at other universities that I've been at. And we'll typically do a performance review after our previous game, and we'll do an opponent preview slash match strategy presentation as well. So when we're playing 3 games in a week, that's a lot of presentations. We always try and keep the presentations interactive, short. Strive to stick under 15 minutes. Doesn't always happen, but that's what we strive for. Um, so yeah, it ends up being it's definitely a busy schedule in the fall.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's talk about the teams. We talked roster sizes. So what does that mean for your staff? How big is your staff? What role does everybody play? What's your staff situation look like?
So we have I have one assistant coach, one graduate assistant coach. That graduate assistant coach is in essence an assistant coach. They are very involved in all different parts of the program, and they're a skilled person. They're not just a recent graduate. Um, we may get, because we're increasing our roster size. I'm working with our athletic department, trying to see if that increase in roster size could also lead to an additional staff position. At the moment, we haven't got the green light, but I'm hopeful in the next kind of month or so that the conversations will continue to develop. Um, so yeah, I mean, 3 people with 55. That's what we're planning for, hoping for an extra, but planning for three staff, and that's a lot of people to manage. And it's a challenge. So really, we have to be as prepared as we possibly can be, as organized, as systemized, and having like clear frameworks for how we make decisions, how we operate. Something that's been important for me recently is building standard operating procedure documents that make it clear, so there's less kind of hesitation, less unnecessary confusion between the staff about different areas of the program that we have to manage. I think it's probably underestimated at times, sort of how diverse your role is as a soccer coach, and that you're basically touching on lots of different areas at all times, and then you're also working with and trying to develop a very large group of individuals. So I don't know if I answered your question completely there, but hopefully I
Oh,
gave
yeah,
you an idea of how
yeah, for sure. Well, then what about you? Talk to me. You talked a little bit about your playing style earlier, but talk to me about your coaching style.
so I've had a bit of an unusual path to being a college soccer head coach. I played rugby between the ages of 14 and 21, and had 2 shoulder operations when I was 19 and 20, or 20 and 21. And after the second operation, the surgeon advised me to stop playing rugby. This was the same time as the World Cup in South Africa in 2010. So World Cup fever sweeps England. It's impossible not to get wrapped up in it. I'd been sort of quite an obsessive soccer player until I was 14, and I made a decision to basically leave rugby in the rearview mirror and to start playing soccer again. And I was always very obsessive about whatever sport I was playing, so I worked hard to try and yeah, be the best soccer player that I could be. Ended up coming to a college in South Carolina called Francis Marion and doing a master's degree there and playing a couple of seasons. And then, yeah, and then started on my journey, my coaching journey. So it was kind of an unusual route where I ended up learning a lot of things as a player a lot later and perhaps more consciously than someone that developed those skills when they were 14 or 15 would have. Um, so yeah, and as a player, I was kind of a guy that really liked creative players. I think when I first started, someone like Iniesta would have been kind of the style of player that I would have built my vision of what I wanted to be like. And so that bled into my coaching philosophy. Always really liked creative players and guys that have a skill set that where they can do unpredictable things. Um, and then with time and with opportunities to coach, I think I started to really enjoy the intensity side of coaching. So I would describe myself as very communicative. You know, both positive and negative. Try and give when I say negative, I mean constructive criticism. Try and give a lot of really clear, direct feedback at all times. Um, which I think, as long as it's honest and sincere, respectful. Sometimes within a game, that's difficult because in a game you only have a split second to give feedback. Sometimes, um, yeah, I think most players respond well to it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you've given us a lot of info. I'm going to leave you just with one last question, and that is, if you had advice for, a player right now going through the college recruiting process, what would that be?
I think do things that this is very generic, so I'll try and delve a little bit deeper into it, but do things that make you a little bit uncomfortable, push your boundaries. Um, so when you get opportunities to speak to college coaches, um, and you have, like real information that you want to get from them, ask those questions, ask the more difficult questions. Um, I think I think being persistent can be a good quality if there's an existing some kind of pre-existing relationship. Um, Sometimes I get emails from the same individuals that I've never interacted with before on like a really regular basis. If I don't personally have a relationship with them, I sort of feel like it's spam. I don't think it's yeah, personally, it doesn't necessarily endear me to the individual that's just sending me these. Sometimes sometimes it's clear the email has gone out to like 300 coaches. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. I think getting good information is really important. And again, ID camps, sometimes there is a perception that they're a money grab, but it's an opportunity to interact, ask questions, gain real information, not generic information, but real information that is probably more authentic than information that you'll find in the general. If you're a youth player and all the parents are chatting or something, they're all going to have an opinion, but how much of that opinion is actually based in reality is a different subject. Um, so yeah, I'm not sure I've fully answered your question there. I'm trying to think of
Well,
some actual actionable steps, but go
although
on.
you made me think of another question that I wish I would have asked, so I'm going to go do it now because I can. As a Division two coach, you have the unique opportunity to allow players to quote unquote try out, right? Is that something you take advantage of? Do you bring recruits in? Do you do it in the fall and the spring or just the spring? Is it something you take advantage of? How many of your recruits usually come and do the tryout besides an ID, or separate than an ID camp?
Good catch. I wish that had come to me when I was talking earlier. Yes, we do have a lot of guys that train with us in the fall and the spring. The spring we probably have more in the spring. That is our recruiting season. We don't recruit at all in the fall. I think some schools always keep the recruiting ticker moving. In the fall, we are fully focused on being the best that we can be on the field, and we put all our resources into our performance in that moment. We do actually still have some guys that come in the fall because of connections and stuff that make it easy if they're local guys from Knoxville or Chattanooga or Nashville, and we already have a pre-existing relationship with them. We'll talk to them often before the fall and say, hey, on these couple of dates, these would be good days where you could come and train with us. And that is the best way to. It's challenging, I think, for the individuals because they always come. They're always a little bit nervous when they show up. They don't know the start of play necessarily in a distinct way before they show up. They don't know the other players and their playing styles. So I think it's a challenging environment to come into, but it's really good, rich information for them because they can actually talk to our players. Do our players? What's the culture within the group within a training session? Do our players have good things or bad things to say about the program? How does the coach actually interact with the players when they're trying to push the level of a training session? So they get really rich information when that happens. And for us, it's great. We don't necessarily expect them to be superstars within our training environment because we recognize that it is really challenging, but it is still really valuable information for us to see how they perform in that environment. And again, it's an intimate environment where we'll have a meeting with them that will last probably sort of 25 minutes and get to know them and they can get to know us.
Awesome. Well, Coach, I really appreciate it. Wish you nothing but the best of luck this year, and hopefully you can be hanging that conference banner when it's all said and done.
Thank you. I appreciate it.